Hi, I'm Devin Lloyd, HR Practice Leader at Biz Results Consulting. Welcome to 12 Steps to Writing Your Own HR Policies and Procedures. Following these 12 steps will ensure your human resource policies include the right information. Step number 1. Make sure you have a consistent structure to your policies so people can find things easily. If you have a full slate of policies, you want them to be easy to use and you want your employees to know where they can go to easily find the information they need. Step number 2. You want to have a clear title that accurately reflects and summarizes the content of the policy. For example, you can title your policy on employee discipline as progressive discipline or as corrective discipline, whatever you feel most accurately describes the vision of your organization. For our attendance policy, people have used attendance improvement, attendance support, or attendance management. The title should be clear and concise so people can find the policy immediately when they need it. Step number 3. You want to have a policy statement that outlines the intent of the policy and why it exists. This is a high-level overview of the reason for the policy and what can be found in it. For example, our corrective discipline policy statement says, quote, "Certain actions by employees during the course of their work may lead to disciplinary action taken by the employee's immediate supervisor on behalf of the company. Such action will be fair and corrective. Unless the situation warrants otherwise, the company adopts the concept of progressive discipline," end quote. This statement provides management with the comfort of knowing they have a tool for dealing with poor employee behaviors or performance, and also lets employees know that in such cases they will be dealt with fairly. It's a win-win. Step number 4. The policies must match your culture. For example, if you have a culture of firing employees with short or no notice, your policy should be different than if you have a culture of dealing with employees' performance issues progressively. Your policy statement should reflect your culture accordingly. Alternatively, management can inform staff of the new policy and indicate that the policy will be enforced on a go-forward or from now on basis. What you say and what you do must be aligned so you have a positive impact on organizational culture. If you're looking at implementing HR policies and procedures as a tool to improve organizational culture, they are an excellent way of doing this if the policies are designed properly and their implementation is communicated effectively. You need to have your line managers and supervisors on board as to why the policies are being implemented or as to why things are changing. They need to know exactly what is changing and be supported through the implementation process with proper training and coaching. We've seen time and again where proper policies have either been the impetus to change corporate culture or to sustain a positive culture already in place. Policies make decision-making easy for managers, plus staff are aware of the organization's direction. Employees will respect that there's somewhere to go to find consistent and fair information. HR policies are a great tool and you can use them for changing your culture. Step number 5. Having definitions either in each policy or in a separate document that summarizes the definitions will ensure that employees or managers do not misinterpret information in the documents. Definitions will add to the credibility of your policies by ensuring they are interpreted and applied consistently to all employees. For example, in our attendance management policy, we include definitions on what absenteeism means, what illness is, and what illness is not. This provides clarity to supervisors and managers so they know what the definition is for a staff member to be sick. This also lets employees know under what circumstances it is not okay to call in sick. Step number 6. You will want to have responsibilities in the policy. In particular, who is responsible for what? For example, in many organizations, preliminary informal meetings surrounding a staff performance issue may be held between a supervisor and the staff, while the authority to discipline or dismiss is typically at the management level. It can also be indicated here that employees are expected to perform an honest day's work for a fair day's pay. Step number 7. You will want to have a reference code in your policies as well. This helps you to organize your policy manual into sections to find material that is relevant to similar areas. For example, our corrective discipline and attendance management policies are often included under a reference to employee or labor relations. Step number 8, scope. Who does the policy apply to and who does it not apply to? For example, you may want to limit access to your board of director policies to your board and executive managers, while human resource policies should be accessible to all staff. Step 9, forms. Be sure to indicate if there are particular forms or letters to be used and where these can be found. Hyperlinks can be included in the policies that are on a local intranet, and all employees can simply click on the hyperlink to immediately access the most current version of a form or letter. In a manual system, you can still have the related documents attached to each policy or at the end of the policy manual. If the Human Resources Department is a holder of these forms or letters, this information should be included in the policy. These measures will ensure that everyone uses the most current documentation and that the policies are used properly as a whole system. Step 10, procedures. At Biz Results, we suggest that if there are procedures associated with your policy, that these procedures be included as part of your policy. Some organizations have separate policy and procedure manuals, and we find this creates confusion and too much paperwork. If your policies aren't straightforward, they can end up just sitting on the shelf and not being used. Step number 11, retention on personnel file. Some documents, particularly documents related to employee discipline and attendance, should be retained on an employee's personnel file for a particular period of time. This period of time may be dictated by a collective agreement for unionized organizations, or it can be at management's discretion. Either way, to be clear and transparent with our employees, we want to indicate how and for how long these documents will be retained on file. Step number 12. You want to indicate key dates, such as when the policy was approved and when it was amended. A lot of organizations will go through an annual process of reviewing all of their policies, and it is important that these changes are appropriately documented to ensure the company is keeping up with any changes to legislation or industry trends. At Biz Results, we are consistently looking at our policies to make sure they are up to date and that our policy library includes policies that are relevant to a fast-changing business world. Our policies include over 15 years of research and practice, and we can customize our policies to ensure they apply across all sorts of businesses and industries. These are the things you will need to make your policies useful and for them to make a positive difference in your organization. I hope you've enjoyed this information and find it of use. If you would like more details on policies and procedures, feel free to contact us. Thank you and have a nice day.